Hello. Good afternoon, y'all. So I made this video, what everyone is missing about the Jeffrey Epstein story, and I was talking about the power of blackmail and honeypots and all of that, so you should go check that out. Update on that. This is my chair, by the way. Update on the whole thing. There was a press conference yesterday. I'm not sure if today's the 22nd or 23rd, sorry. And apparently, I don't really follow Q, but apparently Q had said something big was going to happen. I don't know. But I'm not talking about the speech where Trump said he's going to send troops into these cities. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a press conference that I saw. And I know it's the press conference, not the speech, because I was talking to my friend and she was talking about speech and I was talking about the press conference, and I was like, I feel like we're talking about two different things. So there were two different things that Trump did yesterday. So I'm talking about the press conference, and someone threw him a curveball and asked him about Ghislaine Maxwell, who's in prison, a reporter. And he really did a great job, because the first question he asked was, "Oh, Mr. President, we just love these tests here at the White House that are fast response and blah, blah, blah," because he thought the whole press conference was about COVID. You know what I'm saying? He's like, "Oh, yeah, when are we going to get those in the rest of the country?" And Trump's like, "Oh, that's a great question." Because, you know, he likes those kind of questions, you know, like, "Oh, yeah, that's a great question. I prefer those tests, and we should do that all over the country, and, you know, that's our goal, and, you know, great, blah, blah, blah." And then he goes, "And my second question is, Ghislaine Maxwell is sitting in prison for blah, blah, blah." And then he goes, "And many people are saying she's going to release the names of powerful men, Mr. President. Even potentially something to do with Prince Andrew." I think the reporter mentioned Prince Andrew before Trump did, to be clear. I don't think Trump randomly brought up Prince Andrew, if I remember correctly. And he goes, "What do you say, Mr. President, the idea that Ghislaine Maxwell is going to be releasing the names of powerful men? In other words, are you going to be on the list?" Well, here's where I was just like, oh, it's happening. Someone's asking him, you know, and he's right. The Americans want to know. What do you have to say? Because there's conflicting information on that. If you ever followed the whole controversial subject that I can't even say the name, or this video gets shot at me, with the whole concept of what's going on, you know, lots of missing children every year. What's happening to them? Are there a group of people that are really evil and doing evil things in these rituals, like I talked about in the last one, for power? I don't know if Epstein would be one of them, or if he's just a supply guy. He's definitely a low life pimp. That's what I told my husband. I'm like, he's a pimp. He's a freaking pimp. That's what he is. Whatever he thinks he is, thought he was, is different, but he's a pimp. And he's just a complete horrible person. So Trump, back to this thing. Okay, so Trump goes, I'm just in shock. I'm like, finally, the question was asked at a live press conference. This is amazing. It's live. Oh, yes. Please, please, please answer. And Trump goes, "Well, you know, I wish her well. I knew them in Palm Beach. They were living down there, and I really just wish her well. And I don't really know anything about the Prince Andrew thing." He said, "I wish her well," like, I think 3 times. Well, here's the deal. At first, I was like, he wishes her well, because I'm watching, like, Filthy Rich on Netflix, and Virginia Giuffre is saying that Ghislaine Maxwell is, like, an ultimate psycho, you know, Black Widow spider. You know, this woman is the brains behind Epstein, and she's far worse than Epstein. And so I'm like, what? So there are a lot of things that went through my mind as a response to this. Number one, there is a long history between Trump and Epstein. And what I learned is it's interesting, because I think maybe he's thinking that Ghislaine is yet another victim. And this is a potential that everyone should consider. However, she was not underage, and she did have powerful family, but that doesn't mean that he wasn't using her. I did see an interview with someone who knows her and was saying that she just always thought they would be married, and she just wanted to keep him happy. It could have really been a messed up relationship. We don't really know. But wish her well really threw me for a loop, because of course I'm coming from the mindset of one of the other victims that was predated on by Ghislaine. Of course, Ghislaine was potentially predated on by Epstein, so we must consider that. However, she was a woman of sound mind, and they were minors. And no matter how much of mind control a man has over you in an abusive relationship, which does happen, I mean, Stockholm Syndrome is real, when you start engaging minors in sexual acts, there's an alarm that should go off. Do you know what I'm saying? Get out of that relationship. Get out of that situation. Call the police, you know. So obviously I don't really have a whole lot of sympathy for her, although I do understand the power of an abusive relationship over the mind, and that's a real thing. But wish her well completely shocked me. I'd like to know what you guys think about that. I think there's a few possibilities. Number one, he's playing dumb. He's obviously, I don't think he is dumb. Because the reporter even said, you even stated in the past, mentioned something on Prince Andrew before. I never saw a statement that Trump made on Prince Andrew. I don't know. I think he was delivering two messages, one to Ghislaine and one to Prince Andrew. The message to Ghislaine that I got after I really stopped and thought about it, and I was like, why would he say that to her? He's sending a message to her, go ahead, release the names, do it. And that, once I thought about that, I was like, awesome. If that's the message, great. If that's the message. Then he's sending a message to Prince Andrew, I'm not gonna, basically a message of, I'm not going to go after you, which could be also a lie. Do you know what I'm saying? Not to say that he isn't really going to go after them, or they're not really going to extradite or try to indict this man who is of the royal family. It could be a lie of a message. I'm not saying, but it seems like those messages were directed at those people, and he was using the media for that. The thing about Trump is, I don't glorify everything he does, but in his book, Art of the Deal, and throughout his life, you can tell that he is a media manipulator. He knows that there's no such thing as bad press. He knows that he can intentionally mess stuff up and the media will bring light to it. And he does that on purpose because they won't bring light to some things. I do agree with all of that. And so I do think that he used that question to either deliver those two messages, which is one possibility. And it was almost like a softball pitch. It was like if there was something worked out ahead of time where he knew that question was coming, and we knew that, I'd like to know more about who that reporter is and who he works for, and because I've never seen that reporter before, but maybe I just wasn't paying attention. I don't know. Maybe it was a softball pitch so that he could get that message out, or what he was definitely, the first impression was, oh, he's really thrown off by this, but maybe that's what they wanted us to think. So the second possibility is it wasn't a softball question and he wasn't delivering a message. The second possibility is he was really thrown off by it and had no idea what he was saying, and he just thought he should say something positive. So he'll just say, I wish her well. And then part of that is fear because they have something on him. That's another one. He's thrown off. They have something on him. He's like, I wish her well. Please don't report me. Who knows? That's the second possibility, because they did know each other in New York and in Florida. And notice how he said, I knew them down in Palm Beach. But he didn't say anything about New York, which is interesting because I would imagine he would have known them in New York as well. And I'm pretty sure that we've seen photos of that. I could speculate a lot of things, but there was an underage accuser against Trump as well. Maybe Trump doesn't do that all the time. Maybe it was a honeypot and they got him too. Maybe he thought she was 18. We know he has a propensity towards prostitutes. Maybe he thought it was an 18-year-old prostitute. I don't know. And of course, I could be rationalizing for a man that has had multiple accusers come forward and say he's an assaulter too, a rapist. But I don't see him as a pedophile. I don't, but I could be wrong, because there are many people that do see that. He wasn't on the flight logs to Lolita Island. He was associated with Epstein through the Mar-a-Lago. And the word on the street is that after Virginia Giuffre and others were trafficked from the Mar-a-Lago, that he's the one that actually alerted the FBI. So there's a connection there. And I think that because they were both in high society, I think the thing that Trump followers and Q followers believe, which I lean toward, even though I don't follow Q, is that he knew about these things. And he was aware of them, and now that he's president, he's over it. And, he has a daughter that's beautiful. And sometimes I think, what if somebody tried to pick her up at his club or at his thing? That would make it personal for him. He has more than one beautiful daughter. So that would make it personal for him. And with a man like that, who wants to succeed at the cost of, at all costs, maybe he's not the man to mess with. So it was a shocking moment. I encourage you to go find it and tell me what you think about it. I wish that the person who does the lie detecting, what is it, body language? Oh my gosh, I would love for the body language channel. You know what I'm talking? That does all the micro expressions. I'd love for them to analyze that. That would be amazing. Because I couldn't tell if he was pretending to be thrown off and delivering a message, or if he was really thrown off and hiding something out of guilt. And it could be all of the above. He could have been caught up in some honeypot scheme, blackmailed by them with an underage girl, refused to go forward with what they wanted, which is why maybe this person pressed charges. And then he's been holding, a grudge ever since, tried to get them arrested in 2000 whatever with the FBI, and is now still working against trafficking to this day. I do see a lot of work against trafficking going on that the left and the right, nobody can deny. So that was a shocking moment. I think that it's going to be explosive when these names come out. It's going to be explosive. And, Trump's name may be in there, I will say that I've been following trafficking, and more than just trafficking. You got to understand, when trafficking goes to this level, there are governments involved. And I've been following this subject for a very, very long time, and all sorts of governments being involved. One of the things that I did was read Transformation of America by Kathy O'Brien, who literally became like a government property kind of experiment, and the things that she went through. And that woman has a list of names in the back of her book. And you got to understand, I got family in the government. I was scared. I read this book after I got married, right after I got married. I was scared to look at that list of names because I have a military family and my husband has a family that we all were public servants. It was a scary thing, but luckily, I don't remember Trump's name being in there. So when all this stuff started coming out in my head, because I already knew who some of these people were, these whistleblowers before Virginia Giuffre, before Epstein, back when I wrote my song Invisible Child against trafficking, that was like in 2015. Back then and before, there were people speaking out, and there are governments involved. There are government employees and secret sections of certain governments in certain countries involved in this. And his name had not ever come up. The Clintons had come up multiple times. The Bushes had come up. Cheney had come up. Senator Byrd had come up. So many people had come up. Dr. Mengele became Dr. Green. I believe his name became Dr. Green. Supposedly he came over and his name came up, but not Trump. And so that's why I kind of lean toward maybe he did get caught up in something, but I don't think he has a propensity toward that. And also there was a quote from Trump on Epstein a long time ago, and Trump is a smart man, and he has a lot of managing tactics because he went to that school of business. And there's a tactic, a basic 101 level tactic of managing called the sandwich. If you want to control your employee, you don't want them to get offended, but you want to criticize them, you use the sandwich. Compliment, truth, compliment. Compliment, criticism, compliment. And it's a basic managing tactic. He said that and did that about Epstein. One of the first quotes that people shared going around was, "Oh yeah, I know Epstein, great guy. Likes them real young, but he's a great guy." That's a sandwich, guys. And that's how Trump speaks. He's like a manager. He's managing people. He's managing the media. He's managing his fans, probably through Q. Let's get real. But that doesn't mean that it's nefarious. Q is telling people to stay home. What people do with that information is another story. Like I said, I'm not following it. I just hear from other people. So I guess I'm sort of following it. Another thing that I would like to share with you, and I'm going to put it right here at the end, and then I'm going to shut up and go home, is that I just heard through someone that has connections at YouTube. So a few years ago, my channel, Eden Cultures, I'm a partner still. I'm a verified channel. I don't have any copyright strikes. I used to be monetized. I had like 2.3 thousand subscribers. It wasn't many because I don't pander and I do long form and I'm smart, and there's not very many smart people in the world that can follow me. Only a certain section of the population can follow me. But I was monetized, and I had about a lot of my most money-making videos about politics and health were demonetized in 2017, right before I was robbed, and I stopped making videos for about a year. And fled to Florida. And that could be unrelated, of course, but just timeline for me, it's memorable. So my channel was heavily demonetized, and I just said screw this, and I quit bothering with YouTube. And so my phone just got dark. This person who just said this thing today said that in November things are going to get, right before the vaccine comes out. I've heard two different things. One is Facebook, Twitter, and Google, which includes YouTube, have already spoken. And there's going to be another massive censorship of channel deletions. Like, they've demonetized everything a few years ago. I was one of them. But there's going to be people that are open talking about vaccines. So it's going to be me. These channels are going to be either deleted or shadow banned or whatever en masse right before the COVID vaccine comes out. So that's one thing that I have heard. It's already planned. So I have another channel called Heather Day Music. Maybe you can find it. I have like 2 subscribers and I put some music videos on it. Same name, but the URL is not, you know. Anyway, that's going to happen, number one. Number two, I've also heard from people who know people in the government that because of what they think is going to happen with this virus and the huge swell, like if this goes down like the Spanish flu, then the second wave would be 5 times worse than the first. So the peak in April, you know, we had 3,000 people a day dying. It's lower now, and the death rate has actually gone down, but they're keeping people alive with steroids. So we're talking about long-term health effects here, guys. But anyway, things are going to get worse in October, November, December timeframe, where we're locked down even more. So these are 2 rumors that I've heard. I have nothing to back them up other than that they're rumors. And so I'm putting them in this video so that I can hear about them later and see them later and go, did that happen? So here it is, July, and I stay home anyway, so I'm not a threat to anyone anyway. But I just wanted to give you guys my spiel on Trump and Epstein. And yes, I do believe that we know that humans are one of the top 3 money makers of the world. So how does that actually play out? You know what I'm saying? And it's important for us to acknowledge that and give hope to people that are enslaved. Give hope and that they have not been forgotten, that they are not devalued, that we value them in society, even if they're a young girl with no parents on the street. We value all of you. We haven't forgotten you. You're not going to be ignored. We want justice, and we want society to change. So like this video if you like that, and subscribe, and please share your information. I want a discussion on this, you know, especially people that can get through to the end of this video with my rambling. But bye, and stay safe and healthy, guys. Peace.